Welcome back to another Tarant tip. Today's tip is why you should EQ everything. Just kind of made this quick loop. It's going to be a 3-part series of EQing on just this particular project. But part 1 is just bringing your awareness to EQs and everything. So let's just listen to this loop real quick, stock as is, and then we will start analyzing it and EQing out the low ends and the high ends that we don't need. Alright, so like I said, pretty basic. I just slapped this together and just kind of brought in some elements that kind of were fighting with each other so we could kind of EQ them and make them sound good together. So vocals we're going to start with first and just throw an EQ on there so we could see what it's looking like. So all of this right here so you really don't need all of that. So if you just flip this around, we're cleaning up the bottom. You can still see it's there. You could pull it in tighter, but let's just not get carried away and just do with what we know we don't want in the vocals right now. And then we're going to do the same thing, but up here. So about right there, it's starting to get harsh. So let's flip this around. And that's going to be the basic for the vocals right now. We're going to keep it as is, and we're going to move on to the drums. As a whole, we're going to listen to it and kind of figure out where we need to cut the basics out. So I already have a kind of like chain on here. I'm just going to delete it and get a new EQ. And then we're going to so about right there, we don't need any of that stuff. So let's flip that around and let's check out the low end. So about right there, even though the kick is playing right there, it sounds like it's just blending in with the bass and the sub. So just let the sub and bass do that part. We don't need the kick doing that. So let's flip it around. And in return, that kick kind of sounds a little more present because it's not getting mudded down with the sub. So that's going to be, we're going to do that. Now we're going to go to the sub real quick just because I know I put a saturator on there and stuff. So you can see there's a lot of play outside of the sub range. Let's just go in and see. Wrong one. And I'm going to just solo it just because I want to hear. And what that noise is the LFO, which I could fix. So about right there, it starts getting like gritty and rough. I'm going to do a hard cut right there. Just so it definitely cuts down. See how it was like slanted out? Now it has a steeper drop. Okay, so we got the EQ. Oh, well, the sub, we do the low cut. So let's bring this out here. And what I do is I put it at the far left, the lowest frequency you could go. And then you look at it and be like, okay, so the first note I'm playing is a D. So right before the D starts, 35 hertz. So I'm going to put it at 35. So on the sub, when we cut the low in, the lowest we're playing is that D. So I'm just going to come in up just a little bit. Just to clean it up a little bit. It doesn't have to be a hard cut. It could just be a soft one just to be safe. And then just bring it up a little bit. But as you can see, when you do that small cut, it kind of cuts more. So we're going to stick with the 4 and just bring it in. I forgot who, I think it was Nicky Romero. He did that on one of his tracks. Sometimes he cuts it up to 40 hertz. Just depends on the notes he's playing. So I just recently started messing around with that, and so far so good. Definitely suggest you guys do like a bounce with that cut and bounce without that cut and kind of see if you could hear the difference or if it's cleaner without it or whatnot. But now we're going to go into the kick and kind of just bring in that low cut up a little bit. So if I want to get that kick pumping, I'll bring it in and push it up a little bit, and now it's kind of driving over the bass, whereas the bass we could kind of get playing that rhythm now. But then we're going to have to bring out some of this just to clean up the kick. So a little bit right there we could cut out. We could turn the saturator off right now. And same with the hi-hats, you really kind of want to EQ them really good because there's a lot of layers and they're going to overlap and stuff, you really want them tight. So if you could hear this, get all that low clang out. So there's a lot in that one, and then as well as the highs. And we're going to turn this one. Turn this one down. And then move on to the shakers. You want to keep it kind of quick and moving. You don't want to overguess and or overthink and just keep on fiddling with it because you'll, in the long run, you'll damage it. It's happened to me many times, and I don't know why I do it. So this one, it had a lot of low, but I want it up here. Don't want so much high in it. Kind of want it more tucked back. Then the crash. It's not too bad, but I definitely want to take out some of the highs on this one. Hear that piercing? And last but not least, the perks, which is kind of like some random shit I just threw in there. This one I kind of want a little more low end on. And a little bit of that high out. Now let's hear it all together. Turn this up a little bit maybe. As well as, so that sub could actually come up. And then if you move it over, and that is why you guys should EQ everything.
And it goes like